Good morning, Kim.
Good morning.
Oh, golly darn. Do I get a special seat or something? Oh, cool, groovy. Isn't this fun? You won't believe it. I moved up in the world and bought a smartphone instead of my flip phone. It's so exciting, the fun goofiness, getting emails and whatnot.
Oh, the challenges of a smartphone.
Yes,
You know, I still like the simple technology of the flip phone, and
Yes.
they worked really
Right.
good. I
Right.
didn't drop as many calls. They were sufficient. They lasted forever. So I went and got this one last year because mine kept dropping calls. And I'm like, I'm a person where if I'm going to buy something, I want it to last forever. So I had it for, oh, it's like 2.5 years. And I went into Cellcom and they're like, I said, what's wrong with this? Well, you need to upgrade. I'm like, it's only 2.5 years old. Yeah, but with the whatever
Technology
gigabytes and all
advances.
this, and I said, it's dropping calls. I spent it was like I think it was a 6. No. So then I said, well, I want the cheapest one. I need an iPhone because with all the technology with kids, but I want the cheapest one. So they walk through and they
Good
start
morning,
with
morning,
the
morning.
8 and they work their way to the newest one. And I'm like, no, I don't want the newest one. Yeah, but you know what? Within a year, you're going to drop calls. I said, I'm buying a phone for how much money? I shouldn't drop calls in a year. Yep. Okay. Yeah, I figured it was, I would say. Yep. Okay. All right. Thank you.
I'll be at my desk watching it, and then when it ends, I'll come and take it down.
Okay. That'll work. Thank you.
Yeah, when you talk, just make sure you're about 3 inches away. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Have a good day, sir. Thank you for the information, sir. Perfect, thank you. Just a heads up, we're pretty much live, but I'm gonna put it up to the website in 5 minutes or so.
Okay. Perfect.
Cool.
Yeah,
How are the
Cindy
cows, Kim?
should be here shortly.
They're good.
so-
They're
But,
good.
yeah, just so everybody
It
knows
gets
what-
hot, but then it cools down.
Of course.
Okay, well, we did it last time.
So,
I don't know if they
they're
really
doing
knew us
good.
when we were just there when Ross, okay.
Okay. So how many cows does Rolling Hills have now? 1,100, 1,200?
No, we're around,
If I don't take it down, can you just stop?
1475.
Okay.
There's a-
Enough.
there's a pond.
Is that just what goes through the parlor, or is that all cows?
That's just what goes through
Yeah,
the
you
parlor.
big farmers, the dry cows, yeah, I mean, it is. Okay.
Yep.
They don't matter too much.
They're on vacation, I always say. For 2 months. All they're doing is eating.
Yeah, well, they growing a calf and get ready for the next lactation.
So are you
So,
gonna be back
yeah.
here, or do we have to
Yeah,
let you
yeah,
know?
it's just at the one this meeting. So is the district show still on?
It is.
And then I'll
It
go to my
is
room.
the end of June. And the girls, none of the boys show. Skeeter's kids don't get in, boys don't, and my son doesn't, but all the girls in the family do. So
Okay.
the 6 girls are loading up and we're going the end of June. So
Is it in Shawano County
it is.
or
and
the
then
Shawano
Shawano.
Fairgrounds?
We're taking 14 heifers.
No cows?
No cows. I don't want to deal with it.
Well, that is more stress, milking a cow and bagging them up, of course.
My computer this morning on Monday, it just
So Jeff, what's happening with,
Okay, all right. This is good. Then I can at least write, and I got the rest on my phone.
is work good?
It's kind of typical so far. Kind of beginning of the season for us. We've had some weddings canceled, but then they've rescheduled for either next year or later in the year. Fishing's picked up pretty good right now, so we can get the word out on that. So it's not horrible yet, but it's kind of early to tell.
How is fishing going to be in Kewaunee?
Well, early indications look okay.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, some guys spent a couple days here and 3 guys had their limits, so they were quite happy.
And I think they finally talked to, it sounded like that harbor thing
I had to
with the
lecture at
water.
church, so
They got that where it's kind of changing and going in a different direction, and from what I heard,
Regarding
where that water was building up where they could dock their boats.
in the marina side.
Yes.
Yeah, now we've got the issue on the boat launch side. So hoping we can try to get something planned and figured out for that, because if we can mitigate that and get the campground reopened and the boat launch reopened, that would certainly help a lot.
Huge. I heard Tommy was working on it a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know what he's doing right now, but
I think that was an area that waited too long and just kind of sat.
well, yeah, I mean, just the lack of action and lack of planning that's the frustrating part.
Yep. Yep. There was no game plan implemented.
No plan is still a plan of nothing.
I was like, come on, people. Because, that's a huge part of Kewaunee. Huge.
I sure think so. It seems like some people have other thoughts, but
That's a huge
I don't know how you
part.
could.
That should have been like on the top of the list.
Yep. Well, the marina almost wasn't even opened.
I know. I go by Robin, so she informs me. Good morning, ladies. We're just waiting for Julie and Cindy. Behind Milty is Virginia? I can't see her name tag. Oh, yeah. I just saw that name. You were blocking my view. No. Okay.
Yes, I try to watch what I eat. I'm getting so fat I have to lose this pot belly. I'm working on it. I have to exercise more.
I have another question. Are we going to do, you think, the meeting here next month too, or you don't know? Okay.
Excellent question, Kim. Chairperson Kim.
I would like it back downstairs, yeah. Okay.
Probably as long as we're screening people down there too to get in that part of the building, so somebody's already there, right? To screen. Yeah,
So then, I would figure next month, I think we could. I like it in the health. My daughter went to college this morning.
Ooh. Now?
NWTC, she's taking a CNA class. And they kept emailing us saying, we're not sure, we're going to keep going. And yep, this morning she went in. She starts at 8 till 4:30.
That's great.
NWTC, and they're able to pull it off with the amount of kids and the distancing. And so she's able to take this class because otherwise.
Class start now?
Yep.
Is it a summer program or?
Summer program. So
Okay.
she's very excited because then it kind of makes her go in the direction for when high school starts so she can take those classes, or she'd have to change all her classes she was taking. So she was pretty excited about that.
Well, that's cool. And that's every day?
Every day, 8 till 4:30. So she's going to be a junior. She wants to be a doctor, a surgeon.
Well, that's going to take a lot of classes. Yeah, you better take summer classes.
I'm like, oh.
Well, and it's cheaper if you do it that way than trying to just go to the university and
She's
masters.
got a 4.0.
Yep.
So she's really banking on getting this done. I don't know where she came from, Milty. Good morning, Cindy. She came from our ache. I just don't know. She's very smart. I'm very blessed. So
Which daughter would that be?
Mercedes, my oldest. She's 16.
Really? Okay.
Yep. So I'm she's very smart, so I'm very proud of her.
Just so you're aware, taping starts right at 8:30, and then
Yep.
It will go until we go down the hall to town hall.
Okay, and I have one more question. Did you hear if Julie's coming or not coming? I didn't know if maybe she would have went.
She's knocking on the door right here.
Go over there.
Yeah, I know, but she probably doesn't know that.
Can I just tell her to?
She's probably going to the next door, then tell her she's going to the next door.
She might be going to the next door. Should I?
Yeah, but she's got to get checked in.
Anyhow.
Oh,
Very good.
Otherwise, she's going to go back to her car and go home.
Direct her in the right direction.
Nobody wants me.
As long as she doesn't cry.
Cindy, is that okay if we wait then? Even though
I think we're good. Just not talk about personal issues.
Could everybody speak up really loud? That's a big room now.
if you can't hear me, then let me know. Okay, so then I'll wait.
Going to get her temp check.
Okay.
So did they have their practice racing last night at the county fair?
I think so. I saw race cars.
Okay, okay.
A lot of them going through. Good morning, Julie. Good morning, Pastor. Thank you.
Morning, sir.
Morning.
Okay, at this time, I'll call this meeting to order at 8:35. Roll call. I see everyone is here. Everyone is present. Next, we'll go to approval of the agenda. Do I have an approval of the agenda? A motion to approve the agenda? Milty?
I so approve the approved agenda as stated.
Do you have a second? Virginia?
I will second that motion.
All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, say no. Any discussion on the agenda? Next, we'll go to the approval of the May minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Julie will second it. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, say no. Next, we'll go to this, any discussion on that, by the way? Next, we'll go to the citizen input, and do we have anything? Yeah, no? Then we'll go to the election of having a vice chair for the public health. Does anyone have anyone they would like to elect for the vice chair? I'll make a motion to have Linda be the vice chair. Do we second it? Anyone? All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Linda?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Next, we'll go to the public health ordinance. We'll open that up to discussion on that. Is there any discussion on it or anything when you looked it over?
Linda?
Is there anything changed on here?
This is a new ordinance basically for us. We didn't have this in place before. The background behind it right now is, if you think back a few weeks ago when we were under the Safer at Home order, and then the Supreme Court voted down what was brought forward to them, local health departments could no longer place an order out there without having an ordinance in place. So what this ordinance does is it allows us to do some enforcement versus just having something stated without being able to enforce, if that makes sense. So for instance, if COVID would resurge, let's hope it doesn't, but if it would, this would give us the ability to put in place maybe an order that could close a certain facility if we saw something like an outbreak within a facility. And we would just have enforcement ability with this ordinance.
Well, the only reason I say that, because if I look down at the bottom, it says December 16, March 2020. To me, I read all this once before.
So this might have,
Is it kind of off of when we had that other ordinance? When I was reading it, it seemed like it kind of fell in place of the emergency.
Or was this a resolution that county board adopted when this all first started?
well,
Right.
it may have been brought forward to you as a declaration of the state of emergency. Yes, at that point. And I think it's been tweaked since then.
Because, I mean, like I said, I read all this once before, and I thought, well, what's different on here than before?
I agree, Linda. When I was reading it, I thought it was like that kind of that resolution that we put together for the emergency part
Yeah.
of it. Did they kind of take it off?
Jeff re-looked at it and rewrote it with some current changes that were recommended at this point.
Because it kind of falls off of that same style that we put together for that resolution back in February, I believe it was, that we voted on, correct, Linda? Wasn't that in February?
Well, it was around the time,
Pastor, do you know what we're,
I know what you're talking about, yes, and I'm trying to find it here.
I believe it was January or February we voted on that, correct, that emergency?
Yes, it was the last, Bob Widener's last meeting that he chaired, so that would have been the March, actually, right? Was the last
Maybe
meeting-
it was, yeah.
Was the last meeting that Bob chaired, and it granted, emergency powers to the chair and the administrator.
Yep. And this kind of is similar to that, right? Just a little.
It's been tweaked a little bit so that, at least from our standpoint, from public health, we now have a little bit more enforcement behind us with this in place.
Okay. Do we have any other discussion on this?
Under order of authority, where it's listing the sequential of who's available, then who, does the vice chair not fall under the chair as opposed to being non-included? Would the vice chair never be a part of that process?
Yeah, I guess that's the question you have to ask, right?
Because, I mean, I always was under the assumption that the vice chair serves that position if the chair is unavailable, and I don't see any mention of the vice chair in the resolution.
So what you're saying is if the chair is not available, that we have
You
the,
would think it would
yes,
then go
yes.
to the vice chair and then the following individuals listed, or positions rather.
I can check on that with Jeff,
And
that
item
he could
fo-
add.
What's that?
I could check on Jeff
Sure.
if he could put
I
that
mean,
in
I'm
there.
sure there may be a reason as opposed to an oversight. I just am curious.
Mm-hmm.
And then item 4 under subchapter 2, the Kewaunee County Health Officer may do what's reasonable for large gatherings, et cetera. Was that always the case, or was that the recommendation by the health officer to the county board to make the ultimate decision?
What was the citation on that?
No, the health officer has that authority per the state statute.
Okay, so that's a state statute.
Under 250, yeah, state statute 252 is where that kind of authority comes from. Yes.
Okay, where it says up above 250, okay.
I think that's all I had.
So.
Were the dollar amounts with the fines and that sort of thing, was that common also? I mean, is that it?
I think that's just a standard thing that Jeff went with. Yep.
With checking on, Pastor, with checking on Jeff, are we able to go through with this, or do we put this on hold just to see if he can add the chair in there?
You can certainly put it on hold and ask it. I mean, the question is whether or not this is something you wish to do, I guess. I don't know.
I would like to just check to make sure, because that is a good point, because what if something does happen that we have that backup, and if he can just put that in there.
You already have, the state would already have the authority. The reason that this came up is because the state Supreme Court ruled that the governor's time period had run out. So he was trying to add enforcement measures without including the legislature. So, I mean, the governor, working with the legislature, would have the ability to deal with things. I realize this is on a county level, is the idea.
Yeah, and I don't think this order has changed at all, just from years of working in the EOC when we've done nuclear drills and things. I know that if the county chair was unavailable to sit, it did go to the chair of emergency management, then went to the county sheriff. We've exercised that for years. Each one of them would take their turn sitting in the EOC learning that. So I don't think that this order is any different than what it has been. We can certainly ask Jeff specifically, but I think this has been the order of it for as long as I've been here.
Well, I'm still not clear. What is the purpose of adopting this if this is all already kind of there?
And if I could just elaborate on that question. So as a part of understanding the purpose of the committee, the county board, this resolution is being introduced and brought forward by whom? I mean, if this committee, this is the first I've seen and heard of it, granted I'm new here, but what is the origination of this and why is it before us if we haven't been working on it and the chairman doesn't understand it?
This is being brought forth both by the health department so that we have that enforcement ability in the state of the declaration of an emergency, but it's also being brought forward by emergency management as well. So it will go through their committee this month too.
Okay.
So how about if I say if I could get a motion, otherwise we would just put it on hold just to check with Jeff on this statement so I can clarify it better for use. I'll check with him, and if we could put it on the agenda then for next month, is that okay? Sure. So if I could have a motion, what I would like to do is put it on hold till next month. Check with Jeff.
Table it till next month.
Perfect. Thank you. And I have a second. Thank you. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no.
I just have one other
Go ahead,
question.
Linda.
Is there a time frame on this?
I'll give Cindy, I'll give him a call, and then I'll give you a call.
Sounds
Or else
good.
maybe I could just do it together, the three of us. We'll
that's
see.
fine.
Okay. Okay, next we're going to go to the update on the COVID-19. Cindy.
I'm not sure if any of you have questions in regard to what's going on with COVID-19. A few of the changes that have taken place as of today, county buildings are now open. So we are allowing public in for the first time. They're going to be doing that with the recommendation that our staff wear masks when with people coming in, clients. They are being temp checked and symptom checked at the door, and then they can proceed in. We're limiting the amount of people in public spaces, so we have cut down our waiting rooms. We have cleaners and such available in every conference room where they might be meeting with or offices. Staff has been instructed to sanitize after all meetings. So we have some basic recommendations in place that we're going to try moving forward. As far as COVID-19 in the county, we've been holding our own. As of this morning, we have 37 positive cases. So it went up by 1 over the weekend. Within that, the majority of our cases are in younger individuals. So they fall, the highest percentage falls in the 30-something age range. Next would be our 20-something age range. So that's where we're seeing most of the cases. We have had hospitalizations. To my knowledge, there have been 3 that have been hospitalized with it here. So I think that's kind of where we're at with the case counts and what we're seeing on a daily basis. I continue to monitor it daily. Situation reports will go out during the week. Now we're going to take weekends off. So we're going to, and part of that is that the state is no longer doing their situation report on the weekend either. So to get the state numbers is going to be a little bit more challenging. So,
I have a
yeah.
question. I went and got tested,
Mhm.
and you would call, this was on a Friday, and she said I'd know 2 to 3 days. And you would call me Monday morning, which was wonderful. It was negative. And Bellin did not call me for 24 hours later.
Mhm.
Is that no? Do you get it before they do?
No, we all get it at the same time. In fact, the clinics probably get it quicker than what the health departments do because the lab that submitted should be the first notified. That agency should be the first notified. But we have a system where they all drop into, basically. And so sometimes it's just a matter of that the health department's a little quick. And it might be because our caseload is somewhat smaller here within Kewaunee County than what they're looking at. If you went to Bellin, you have to keep in mind that they're treating all of Northeast Wisconsin. So it just might be a matter of sorting through those results and how it feeds through their system.
Yeah, it was a little frustrating because, I mean, I had things going on and
Right.
It's wonderful that you called Monday morning and, then Tuesday morning, oh, it was negative.
Well, and we're a little unique here in that we call our negative results to the patients that we see coming in. Not every county is doing that. So, for instance, Brown County only speaks to their positives. They do not personally call each of their negatives. That's an individual county decision to be made. The only ones right now that we are not contacting are the people who went through our community testing because the Wisconsin National Guard contacts those people for us when they go through a Guard testing facility. So we still have to do all the positives, but they will contact the negatives. We did do community testing. It was advised for every county to do it. So we did it jointly with Door County. That was last week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. It was up at the Door County Justice Center with the National Guard. And we averaged about 100 to 150 people a day. So I can put this a little bit better in perspective for you. They can do 400 to 500 people a day at one of those testing sites. So we saw, okay numbers, but they weren't huge numbers coming out of our community testing. And out of our community testing, we had 1 positive so far that we're aware of.
Cindy, what's the guidance on businesses or the administration building and that sort of thing for amount of people to come in? Is it based on a square foot per the room, or what's kind of the thought on that?
We haven't really set limits specifically. Basic guidance out there right now is the mask guidance, which don't bring more than 50 into any one room.
Okay.
So we're still following that. And some buildings are following a 25% capacity. With the situation that we see here, I don't think that we would exceed either one of those because we're not holding large meetings right now. Most of our large meetings are being done virtually.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Are you seeing any particular pattern in these cases in our county? Connections, for example, work location, traveling out of the county and then bringing it back. I mean, is there any kind of a pattern, or is it just all kind of random?
It's kind of random. I mean, we in late March and early April saw more that were associated with people working outside of the county and coming back. We had a fair amount that happened in some of the food packaging plants outside of the county. but we've had some within our own county on some of our bigger businesses. Anything, any business that sees 2 or more cases is considered an outbreak. So it doesn't take much to have an outbreak within your facility. And so we have watched that. Right now, I would say we're seeing a little bit more of the younger population getting hit. That might be because with the lifting of the safer at home, they're the ones that have a little less fear and go out and socialize a bit more than what some of our older people are.
Are you seeing any change in the severity of symptoms with the warmer weather? Is that impacting anything?
No, and you know what? The severity of the symptoms and the actual just symptoms have been across the board. We are seeing people are anywhere from asymptomatic to, like I said, hospitalized, full out sick, but any kind of combination in between. So I'd like to tell you all of them have a fever. They don't all have a cough. They don't all have shortness of breath. Some of them just have back pain. Some of them might just have nausea.
Is that true across age groups, that every age group that contracts it, it could be really severe for a 20-something?
Yes, but typically I would say typically what we see is the younger see less severe symptoms and they rally a little bit quicker. So they might be sick, let's say 3 to 6 days, in that range. And some of our older population that have gotten it have gotten a few more of the severe symptoms and have fought it longer. So some of those have lasted more like 7 to 14 days with the illness.
Do you see some where they get it if it's really bad and they maybe had already an underlying symptom of something?
Yes, a lot have underlying symptoms.
Okay.
Yes.
So their immune system is being pushed probably already because
Correct.
they have something
All of
else
ours
going
that
on.
have been hospitalized have had 1 or more underlying conditions. Absolutely.
I have one more. Oh, go ahead, Linda. You go.
I just want to tell you, thanks again, Cindy. You put that on there and broke it down by years. I appreciate that because when you said that at the board meeting, that just went over. But it's interesting to see by age,
Yeah.
where they fall. But of those that you tested up in Door County, do you know roughly how many were Kewaunee County people?
I don't have those numbers yet. I'm hoping that they will provide us with that. Test results were still coming in from that this morning yet through the National Guard. So I'm going to give it a day or two and hopefully they'll be able to give us some kind of rough number.
Curious.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of talk about like your big parks like Disney, Great America. So I'm sure you probably talk about this when you do your health department talk for Wisconsin. Now, because of all of this, is there more talk now because we're in June? School is the beginning of September. Colleges are August. Is because these parks are being talked about. Some are already opening. Are they already coming in with a game plan or a discussion on schools?
So schools are up in the air yet, but DPI has told the state that they will have some sort of plan in place within the next week to 10 days. So that's what we're hoping to see. If you follow WIAA, they came out saying that sports are a go this fall. So football will take place. That was said this weekend. Yeah, I did see that announcement. So I am meeting with the Kewaunee School District later this week. I met with the Luxembourg Casco School District last week. They're all planning for a gamut of things. They're looking at bringing kids back full and they're looking at how can we do it in phases or how can we do maybe part of the students some days and part of the students other days. I think one of their biggest fears is busing. They have a recommendation out there to allow 1/6 of the students on the bus at a time. So your average bus route would take 6 trips to transport those kids. That's a challenge. So they're facing some tough decisions. I think if they do open, there are things that we can work with them on as far as just going in and doing basic education. And it's going to be to both parents and students on not sending your child to school sick, doing really good hand washing. It might just be cleaning up the classroom, getting out as much of the room cleared out as possible so that you can separate those desks a little bit more and have more actual space for that, have more hard surface versus carpet or some of the funky furniture now that they have in like reading areas and things for kids. So there's different things that we can look at to make that work.
And what's the current belief right now in regards to surface contact? Because you've heard so many things, and
Yeah.
it's either the droplets or nothing. You know, if it's on this countertop right here, it's essentially non-contractable for the next
Yeah.
person.
I've heard
and we're
all of it
worrying
too.
about all these spaces being sanitized and the amount of effort and money and
Yes.
product getting put into it. Is that all for naught?
The official take at the CDC and the Department of Health has not changed. So they're still saying that that surface cleaning is necessary and to continue with it.
Yeah, there is a lot of different.
A lot
you,
of different
you said
opinions.
It. I couldn't believe it that one day I was like on TV, they made one comment. And then the next day they made another thing on TV about another comment. And I'm like, it's hard because the general public doesn't know which way to go.
Right.
Like it stays longer on stainless steel than anything.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, well, there's nothing like that in a hospital or any place.
Yeah.
Right.
With the schools, my understanding is that they are able to put restrictions on schools, despite the Supreme Court, ruling. Is that correct? And
Schools were in a bit of a different category. So their safer at home rulings stayed in effect
Right.
when everything else went away. So they their buildings remain closed till June 30th. Yeah, they do fall in a bit of a different category right now.
so come fall, we don't have any idea at this point whether there will be guidelines or restrictions.
Correct.
But you're
Yeah.
saying within the next 10
The
days, we
next-
should have a guidance of which direction
we should
we're
have
going.
some sort of idea. Yeah. And I think had we not seen everything else that went on in our country in the last few days, that may have made a difference. But right now, they're waiting to see if some of the protests and different kinds of things are going to cause a resurge of COVID, because we have not had the social distancing
Right.
necessarily taking place that was recommended. And so I think the next few weeks will be critical as to what we see happening. The last 3 days in the state of Wisconsin, we have seen a decline in cases, which is very promising. So hopefully we can continue with that.
Well, this is a massive social experiment.
Yeah.
What we've been doing. I mean, it just is.
Right.
These last 1 to 2 weeks is a massive social experiment, and so I would assume that is going to greatly impact guidelines
Right.
going forward based on whatever results from this. What we see within, how long would it be? The next 2 weeks or 1
2
week?
weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah, 14 days.
Didn't it start last week?
Yeah.
Well,
So
I mean,
like-
Well, it started 2 weeks ago, technically, is when the
Yeah,
incident occurred, and it's
So there
been
was,
since.
the bad stuff. So in some of those big cities, by this week, they might.
they may see some changes.
Are there any guidelines for graduation parties, which will be occurring now?
Really and truthfully, it's just our basic mass gathering guidance that we have out there. We're not really recommending more than 50 people right now. That hasn't changed yet. People have asked a lot of questions about, well, if we stay outside, is it better? I think outdoors is better, but they're still really recommending not getting too close, standing in that close proximity, sharing food, sharing drink, that kind of thing. So, it's going to be interesting because we're going to see the graduation parties start. We're going to see faith-based services take a step forward as well, because I know a lot of them are opening up more and more each week. So I think it's just going to be proceeding with caution, and hopefully people do so in a smart way. A few more things with COVID before we move on. I just wanted to let you know there's a lot of talk with financial grant opportunities and monies coming in, and I think that you guys are receiving some of that from the county board level. I know the county will be receiving some funding. The health department is also up for a fair amount of funding. So we have already received a public health emergency preparedness grant specific to COVID-19, and that is for approximately $35,000. So we are using that right now. And that, with that money, just so you know kind of what I've done so far, that is the money that I took to buy additional masks that could be used within all of the county departments. We've bought additional hand sanitizer that could be used in all of the county departments here. We bought a hand sanitizing station, which is kind of they're at all the main doors when you walk in, but they hold hand sanitizer and different things. So we purchased one for each entrance of every county building, with the exception of every highway shop. The main highway shop has it. We've put some money forth for signage that we're going to help with parks on some things that they're dealing with. I've offered some funding for him to add additional hand sanitizing devices at the local parks and things like that, so we can keep people safe there. So there's a number of different safety measures that we've already started to purchase for that. In addition to that money, there is the CARES money that is coming available, and the estimates that our county are up for right now, there is planning money, so to rewrite our pandemic plan and improve it to include COVID-19 and other, it can fit for any disease out there. So there's $30,000 available for that plan writing, which is something that our department will do through our bioterrorism preparedness coordinator. We have tracing dollars that are available. So the contact tracing dollars are available through CARES as well. We are up for approximately 53,000 there. How that one works is, as you utilize the money, you submit it to the state. It won't come in a lump fund. You'll be reimbursed for what you've done. So with contact tracing right now, that is what Allie and I spend the majority of our time doing daily and on the weekends. But we've also trained Jessica Deppas, which is one of our nutritionists in our office, to do contact tracing. So she helps us with those positive cases. And they're quite time consuming. I think I explained this to you last month, but when we get a positive case, we virtually go through a 14-day period with that case and then talk with each one of their contacts that they've been in close contact with during that period of time, and put them in a quarantine as well. So it's a very time consuming thing. And then you call those people regularly. So it's recommended to do daily or every other day to check on symptoms and different things to make sure that they're staying healthy during that period. So Jessica has been trained. Rachel Bauer is in the process of being trained right now. And hopefully we can do some quick training, and we'll have Erica, which is sitting in the back. She's my student for the summer. Have her do some contact tracing as well, because that's a great learning experience for her. We also are receiving testing dollars, and what they have recommended is to hire a testing coordinator, which I think might be over the top for our county right now, because we don't have the numbers to support that at this point. But the testing dollars equal about $55,000 there as well. And so moving forward, we're going to see how the fall goes with the number of cases that we see, whether we have a resurge of cases coming in, and maybe what kind of community testing they do in the future. The community testing that we did up in Door County will probably amount to minimal dollars on the county, because it was small things that we paid for, like possibly tents and water and things like that for the guard, but it wasn't huge expenses because the testing supplies are paid for through the state. So we'll see where that money goes. Okay.
Cindy?
Yeah.
Just a question. When a case is cleared, does that end the department's contact then with that person, or?
Yes. However, some of those people have been tested multiple times. So they stay within our system, and we have the ability to reopen them if we need to. Yes.
I'm going to quick ask, so like your testing dollars, your tracing dollars, it's like as you do it, you spend it. You pay for it, you get reimbursed. But the grant money, so you said you got 35,000. Is that, do we have to spend that?
That we have.
And do we have it forever, or do you have to spend it by a certain time and we
have
lose
that
the rest?
for, I think it was March of 2020 to March of 2021. So we have that for a year.
So you said how you used it. Are we able to use it throughout the county, correct?
Yes, for various things that are public health related. So, even other things that I'm planning for, we know that there's going to be a vaccine coming out eventually. So we have planned ahead, and we're trying to buy some of those supplies ahead of time before they're in short supply, because we know with what COVID has taught us, everything that we
Right.
need goes into short supply very quickly. So we're planning ahead and we're buying some of those supplies that we need ahead of time.
Can we
Um,
implement it with the schools or no?
Yes, it will
Okay.
be offered in the schools. So
Okay.
when we get that vaccine out there, it will run as a mass clinic just like our flu clinics do, and we will be setting up in each school district, offering at every building. So we go to every parochial school, we go to every public school building, and we'll have teams of staff out there doing that.
Yeah.
And we might even be able to do businesses with it as well. I would think that some of our larger businesses will be able to set up times. It's just going to be a matter of enough hours in the day to get it done quickly.
Is there anything else, Cindy?
I think that's it on COVID.
Okay. Is there any other questions on COVID? Okay, then we'll move to the budget adjustments update.
And so the budget adjustments are some of the financial things that I just explained to you. So we have all of that grant money that will be coming in, and some of it we haven't gotten the final numbers on. So as we get those in, I will write for a resolution to be written, or I'll ask for a resolution to be written adjusting all of those numbers. Some of our other grants we've had small changes in as well. For instance, our prevention grant gave us $1,500 to help with the COVID. Okay, so we just have to add those little things in. But right now, I don't think any of that has been completely finalized at the state. So I'm just waiting for those numbers to finalize before we make a final document on that.
Is it been with the COVID, are you still doing okay with the rest of the budget on some of the things where we have grants and we have to have so much time to spend them?
Yes.
Okay.
We're doing okay right now.
Okay. Any questions? Any other questions? Then we'll go to the reports from Cindy, the May monthly report.
So in front of you on the May monthly report, you'll see that our WIC caseload was around 207. It was 220 in April. So it's hanging about where it typically does. We did see an increase during that month of April, and we're seeing it kind of go down now a little bit as people return back to work. So the reported communicable disease cases, that's a fun fact. So there's 752 that we investigated in the month of May. To put that into perspective, our yearly average is about 180.
Wasn't safer at home?
We had a lot of cases coming through. So the majority of those, I'm not going to say all of them, but the majority of them were COVID-19 cases that went through testing, either in a clinic or hospital facility, or some of the community testing that was offered in Brown County during the month of May. So fortunately for us, 663 did not test positive, but we did have some 19 confirmed cases. And like I said, some of those are not COVID as well, but it was a busy month for us, to say the least. So we did a lot of communicable disease follow-up. Does anyone have any questions on the actual meetings or conferences, activities that we have there? A lot of those are COVID-19 meetings because I average at least 2 a day for the most part.
So when you had the teleconference, that was just, was that with the state? Because then after that, you have the Wisconsin Association. So that one was really with, so with the teleconference was with who?
So every day at 7:15, I meet with the executive WALDAB board that I sit on because I'm the treasurer for the state on WALDAB.
Okay.
So, and that's the Wisconsin Association of local health departments and boards. So I sit on the state executive committee there, and then every day at 2, that is the local health officer meeting through the state. So it's a little bit different, but that's every health officer. But then there's several others in there as well. There's a lot of different meetings that take place throughout the day.
Could I ask you, Cindy, have we seen any increase due to the lockdown and everything regarding psychiatric needs, domestic violence against women, children, anything like that we've seen?
I've been in pretty close contact with the VIP agency for Kewaunee County over the last 2 months, and I don't believe that they have reported higher numbers for domestic violence. I do know that the county has seen a few suicides over the last couple of months, so and we don't average a lot of those. So that rate has probably gone up. I can't tell you what they were in regard to, if it's blamed on COVID or not.
Right.
Right.
Just if there was a trend or
Correct.
anything.
Yeah. And our behavioral health clinics had run throughout that entire period. So we never did shut down the behavioral health unit here. Our doctors worked virtually. So we had one that would do telephone conferences from Florida. That's our one that sees pediatrics. And then our adult psychiatrist has been doing most of his work from Menominee Falls, which is where he's from. However, for the last 2 weeks, he's back in the office. So he is meeting with patients again. That's open back up.
Okay, we'll move to the department updates, agency updates.
I just have a few of them for you. So I wanted to let you know that with some of the funding that we've received, we've increased Jessica Deppes's hours right now. She had been working 24 hours a week for us. And with some of this extra funding, we're going to increase her to 40. She has not opted for any benefits through that. So it is just an hours increase at this point, and that will just be through the end of the year to help us with some of the contact tracing and things. So that's the money that's being used for her. Other staffing, we did hire a WIC contracted a peer breastfeeding coordinator. So it is a individual who works primarily out of their home. They will come in the office occasionally, but they serve as a peer for women who are breastfeeding and struggling or having issues. So that is a very part-time position. That's a WIC based grant through the federal government, and I think it's for about 24, 25 hours a month. So it's not many hours. As far as our summer programming, we're hoping to get things going again. So with the building opening up, we will be seeing clients within the building. We are working to establish some summer school yet. That was a big program for us last year. And so we have agreed to help with some of the virtual classes that are going to be going on through the Algoma School District. So we'll be doing some cooking classes and things. And when I met with Luxembourg Casco last week, they did discuss bringing back their summer school for the end of July and then 2 weeks into August. So they're still in that planning phase right now as to how that's going to go. But we've offered assistance with their summer school program too. Kewaunee, at this point, I'm not sure if they will be doing summer school or not. Possibly August, and I think that's part of what we might talk about this week. So our back to school program will still run. It is in August 19th. I was going to say 18th. That's why I'm looking at Deanne here. And we're hoping to do it as we always do. We do know that there's going to be a few changes. Typically, we've offered shoes to every child that has attended that. And our Souls for Souls program that has given us those shoes will not be available to us this year. So that is one service that will not happen. However, we're hoping that everything else will. Right now, we're hoping to do it face-to-face if that works out. And if it does, and I think what we would do is space it out a little bit more. So we would offer it for a longer period of time throughout that day so that we can have less people in the building at one time. But if that changes for us and we need to do something different, we will do a drive-up service where we can have things pre-packed and the families can pick up their school supplies. The only problem with that is kids don't get to pick out what they want, and it's a kind of a big deal to pick out your backpack. So we're hoping to avoid that.
August 19th, you said?
Yes.
Are you still going to have boxes for churches?
Well, with churches starting to open, I would like to have boxes in the churches. And I think that typically we had them out late June, mid-June, and we're going to look at more just the month of July. So it's a matter of contacting the churches right now to see if they're going to be open, and if they would accept a box, we would certainly have them there.
Any other questions? Then we'll move to the financial report.
You have the monthly financial report in front of you. I don't really think that there is anything too significant in there. We have been spending down our grants monthly. With most of the public health grant funding that we receive, we were told that we know that you're doing COVID and continue, and please spend the money as usual. So we've been using that money as we would normally. So I'm not sure if anyone has any specific question to the financial report, but I think it's within reason.
Any questions? Travel and request or approval of anything?
No, we have nothing right now. No one's traveling anywhere.
Overtime.
With overtime, we have done minimal overtime. So Allie Martin, which is the public health nurse, is the only one that is receiving overtime at this point. And she maybe averages 2 to 3 hours a pay period, so within the 2-week period. And it just seems that that falls on some of our weekends where we end up with a positive case and we have to put a couple hours in. So it varies a little bit, but she is the only one right now that has been granted overtime for that. And that money will also be coming out of that contact tracing grant that we discussed.
All right, then we can move to next meeting. And I think we had July down already. I had July 13th at 8:30. Does that sound right, Deanne? Okay, so we can move to August. August 10th. Does that look good for everyone? Monday, August 10th, 8:30? All good? Sure. All right. August 10th, 8:30. That'll be right before back to school program.
To be determined.
What? Is that good then for you, your calendar? Okay. Then August 10th.
And are we going to determine the meeting location?
Oh, yes. That was what I asked Deanna about earlier. Meeting location for July.
We haven't heard anything different as of right now because they have the video capabilities up here. This is their room of preference.
If everything is open for public to come in,
Then they should be, yeah. So we could go back downstairs.
That would be wonderful. I don't like sitting up
Should we
here.
just do it?
Sure. We can do the medium conference room, which is right outside the health department.
Let's go ahead with that. All right. So down below, back in our old spot.
Next month?
Yes. Yay. All right.
Back to normal?
Yes. So August 10th, 8:30, back in the health department, that room off from the health department, when you walk in to the left.
July.
I'm sorry. I'm looking at August here. Of July. Thank you. Yes. All right. Then, any questions on anything else?
I'll move to adjourn.
I was going to say, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I so second.
And Milty seconds. All in favor, say yes. All
Aye, yes.
opposed, no. The meeting's adjourned. All right, thank you. I'll let you know, then, Cindy. I'll talk to Jeff. I'll give him a call. When I read it, I kind of thought at first, like,
Oh, good.
Linda,
How was
this is what we
yours?
just did. Because it almost was the same wording, and I was going to dig it back up.
So you were in the service also, Jeff?
Yes.
What did you do or where'd you go, sir?
Well, infantry. I was first in the National Guard in Green Bay.
All right, I'll check even if it's with the vice vet, just to
Colorado.
put that in there. Maybe we'll see. I'll talk. I probably won't today
Good day,
because I have a couple appointments after this.
Back to Germany.
But otherwise, I'll give you
Already
a call.
done a
I'll call him
full
tomorrow.
deployment in Germany
Okay,
with my
thank you
birthday.
very much.
Das ist sehr gut.
Yes, sehr gut. War gut. And so I spent almost 4 years in Germany, and then came
Is
back,
Deanne
served in the Guard.
letting-
And at that point, I
Okay,
had
just
gotten
so-
married, and we had bought a hotel. And summer training, 2 weeks doesn't seem like much, but when it's in the middle of my season,
Very true.
it's too much. And, so after about 10 years, I decided to get out.
So when you're in Germany, you're in regular army then? Okay, okay.
Well, the first time I deployed, we literally did a full deployment
With the guard?
with the Guard.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, forward.
Of course.
And that was the largest deployment since Korea at the time. So we took all our equipment, vehicles, wheels, tracks, all of it, railheaded it all to New York, sent it on a banana boat to Belgium. I went out advanced party to Belgium, and then we convoyed to Germany
Okay.
and played.
Okay.
That was interesting.
You like the Autobahn?
Very much so. A lot of miles on that, both Humvees
We
and
only recommend it, it's
other
not required in the county building, as long as you've had your temperature taken. You can go anywhere you want.
that's
and
interesting.
we're
You like the
only-
beer there or
we
not?
recommend
Yeah, I did.
I thought it was too strong.
building.
It varies. I mean,
Of
they've
course.
got all their different types of beers, and it's like Wisconsin used to be. You have
We don't
a
require.
brewery in every city.
Yes, I noticed that when I was there
You know, I mean,
for
we no
18
longer
months.
have that.
Of course,
You know,
yes.
when you think back to all the beers just in Wisconsin alone, it's crazy.
Of course.
So it was fun going to different breweries over there.
Julie,
And of course, it's all you can drink, so.
And it's large, large, grossa.
I only had 2 beers.
That's right.
The church office is open. I mean, if you want to take it to the church office, Donna can bring it down.
yeah,
on
okay,
Wednesday.
sure. Okay,
Yeah, that
that's
would
fine.
work.
All righty.
Thank you.
Well, where?
Well, I have no idea. I mean, you don't ever see any numbers on this. I mean, in a lot of your bigger cities, of course, they track that, and you know, but, I mean, we have no such tracking that I know of. Well, it would be interesting to get some, to actually see reliable information on that. Right. So he can put them up to the light someplace. But from my knowledge, we don't have that.
But some of the other times, since we don't anticipate, they just have this information from the Brown County, you know, saying how many people.
Okay.
The Brown County shelters and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, like in the bigger cities, of course, I don't know